What's going on, guys? It's me, BDP. I'm here with a reaction to the most influential K-pop artist in history. So, I was talking to my friend, and we were talking about a whole bunch of groups and stuff, and this and that. And then we got to the point of Big Bang. And then we started talking about G-Dragon and blah, 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 blah. Then eventually she brought up somebody named Seo Taiji. I was like, who is that? I've never heard of this person. And she was like, oh my god. Don't even talk to me. She's just, all she did was send a link and then said, just watch it. Just watch it. She was like, better yet, react to it. And I was like, alright. So apparently he was like the original king of K-pop. And like, yeah, so he was the one. So, I'm very interested. Apparently he did like so much for this K-pop industry. He did, like she said, K-pop probably wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for him. So, she said this video does a great job explaining everything he's done for the music industry in Korea, and yeah, so we're gonna check this out and see what this dude Seo Taiji, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Let's see what he did for K-pop. So yeah, we're gonna start this in 3, 2, 1, now.
This is one of the most important moments in Korean music history, the stage that gave birth to K-pop. If you watch DKDK TV, you probably have heard of the artist Seo Taiji. He was the leader and main songwriter of Seo Taiji and Boys, a trio consisting of leader-producer Seo Taiji and dancer-choreographers Lee Juno and Yang Yeon-seok. He recently collaborated with BTS at his concert, and he is frequently name-dropped among critics and artists as being the pioneer of K-pop out now today. Many would name him as the single most important artist in modern Korean music history. But what was it about him that puts him in such a status? What made him be considered that influential?
Individualism in collectivist Korea.
To understand why Seo Taiji was such a massive impact, we need to know some Korean history. After the Korean War in 1953, South Korea was in rubbles. It was one of the poorest countries in the world, and Korean people were struggling to get by. Under the direction of an authoritarian government that emphasized a collective mindset of the people, the Koreans set their focus on economic growth. From 1961 to 1979, the GDP per capita of Korea rose by about 2,000%. And Korea recorded an economic growth rate of 9.3% per year.
Per year?
In the 80s, Koreans went through yet another military dictatorship. With financial stability already achieved to a certain extent by the 80s, the Korean collective mindset shifted its goal from economic growth to obtaining democracy and freedom. Through multiple democratic movements that grew in size and number, Koreans finally achieved true democracy in 1987 by obtaining direct election rights. With goals of democratic freedom and economic growth all set and done, Koreans had lost their collective goal. And this led to a breeding of a new generation of teenagers that were focused not on their collective goal or ideal, but individualism and uniqueness.
The birth of Generation X.
X세대에게 패션은 단순한 옷차림 자체만을 의미하지는 않습니다. 이들은 패션을 통해 자신들의 욕구와 자유분방함을 표출하고 있습니다. 우리 군화 신으님도 어디 있습니다?
군화를 신으면요 의외로 좀 섹시한 것도 나고요. 그리고 남자들이 주로 신는 거여서 그런지 남자들하고 대등한 그런 생각도 들어요.
남의 시선을 느끼지 않습니까?
아니요, 저는 신경 쓰지 않습니다. 제가 입고 싶은 대로 입고요. 이렇게 입으면 기분이 좋거든요.
These teenagers of the late 80s, early 90s lived in completely different environments than their parents had. They didn't have to worry about obtaining democracy or sacrificing themselves for the country's economic growth. They grew up in nuclear families with just their parents, compared to the past when extended families living in a single household was a norm. They grew up in big metropolises, in apartments, not in villages or houses. With downsized families and the economic structure of Korea rapidly changing, moving was a very common event for these teens. And for them, the local community did not mean much. They did not connect with them. All these factors detached them more and more from the collective and communal mindset that the Koreans of the previous generation had, and it fostered individualism. They were an entirely different breed of Koreans. However, the music industry failed to recognize this completely different consumer base. Early 90s music was just a continuation of the same stuff from the 80s, ballads and trots.
Song of the Year in 1991, 1 year prior to Seo Taiji's debut.
This was something that the teens could not relate to and just was not cool because it was so attached to the generations before who had a completely different mindset from them. Teens were in desperate search for something that represented their ideals, individualism and uniqueness, something that wasn't what the adults listened to or reminded them of what they stood for, which is establishment and collectivism. Then came Seo Taiji and Boys.
서태지 씨와 그 친구들의 난 알아요 박수로 청해 듣겠습니다.
Yeah, boy! Okay, so he had a group. So it wasn't just him. I swear I've heard this song before somewhere. I swear I've heard that.
So unique at that time. It was absolutely nothing like what the Koreans were used to hearing in Korean music. This is what the teens were exactly craving for. They wanted something different from their parents, and Seo Taiji delivered and did way more than that. The music was just so different, heavily influenced by popular American music at that time. It was a mix of hip-hop, rock, New Jack Swing, heavy metal, and as one YouTube commenter put it, it was like showing a light bulb to people living on kerosene lamps. This song was
Random ass YouTube
revolutionary.
user.
랩 음악은 미국 흑인들이 그들의 불평불만을 짓거리듯 노래한 데서 시작된 새로운 형식입니다. 서태지와 아이들이 한국에서 랩 음악을 최초로 성공시킨 셈입니다.
This song also opened the door for Korean rapping. Rap itself was a very new genre at that time.
It's weird that YG was in a group
in Korea.
himself.
Back then, most Korean artists and critics claimed that the Korean language, its structure was simply not suited for rapping. Seo Taiji and Boys proved them wrong and basically blew out the minds of Korean listeners.
서태지와 아이들의 콘서트가 열릴 때마다 10대 청소년들이 몰려들고 경찰이 동원됩니다. 지난 20일 마흔 공연은 저녁 7시 반에 시작됐지만 이른 아침부터 2만여 명의 청소년들이 줄을 이었습니다.
However, the difference in sound was not the sole reason why teens were following Seo Taiji and Boys. The leader Seo Taiji was the embodiment of something rebellious, something individualistic and anti-establishment. He had dropped out of high school to pursue being a bassist in a legendary rock band Shinawi. When the band broke up, he then self-produced his own music with a computer, which is pretty revolutionary at that time. It's 1992, right? And gathered
92, wow.
Lee Juno and Yang Yeon-seok to form Seo Taiji and Kids. He managed to start and catapult this cultural revolution all by himself. And even better yet, on his TV debut, the critics on the show were actually very critical of him.
멜로디 라인이 되게 약한 것 같아요.
Your melody line is very weak, probably because you were rapping. It would have been better if you used the new genre to talk about something new.
새로움이 깃들여졌으면 참 좋았겠다 하는 그런 생각이에요.
동작 속에
The
노래가
dances
조금
have
겹친 것
overwhelmed
같은
the song,
그런
it seems.
아쉬움이
They gave him the lowest score ever on that show, further cementing the narrative that Seo Taiji was against establishment, against the adults. And for teens that grew up without a collective goal or mentality, this kind of success was like a win against the adults. It was a win against the establishment. Teens went crazy for Seo Taiji. The debut album alone accumulated for 1.8 million albums in sales, and for the 4 albums that Seo Taiji and Boys put out during their short career, they accumulated about 11 million albums in sales.
That's good.
The lyrics of Seo Taiji and Boys were very reflective of individualistic mindsets as well. For example, the song Sushiya from their second album, they talk about how unique they are and how they are unwilling to follow what others do. The way Seo Taiji and Boys dressed also embodied this mindset very well. The group was the first ever celebrity in Korea to hire a fashion coordinator, which is now a standard in K-pop. They were very aware to make themselves look as unique and different as possible. It's safe to say that Seo Taiji embodied the individualism of Korean teens at that time and sparked a cultural revolution that spread this kind of mentality all across the country. It was a distribution of individualism across the general public.
Bringing about change.
Furthermore, Seo Taiji was not afraid to tackle on social issues in his songs either. Before, it wasn't considered a celebrity's place to really speak up about social issues. However, the newly found awareness for individuality led to Seo Taiji being able to voice his opinion in his songs, and people took them seriously. Of course, not everybody was on his side, but nevertheless, it's hard to admit how much his songs had influence on Korean society. Perhaps the most famous story is about how his song Come Back Home made runaway teenagers come back to their homes. Another
Really?
song that had even more influence to society was this song called 시대유가. This song abolished pre-censorship in music in Korea.
Oh wow. So they basically got pre-censorship abolished. They did a lot for Korean music.
Until 1995, music released in Korea had to have their contents censored by the Korean government prior to release. One of the Seo Taiji and Boys songs, 시대유감, failed to pass the censors due to its satirical lyrics. And Seo Taiji, being the rebellious artist that he was, decided to remove all the lyrics from that song and just put it on the album as an instrumental. This led to the anger of millions of Seo Taiji fans in Korea, leading to the eventual abolishment of pre-censorship the following year. It's fair to say that Seo Taiji truly gave Korean music the freedom of speech that they enjoy now today.
That's BTS.
Seo Taiji and Boys disbanded after just 4 years due to
Oh,
exhaustion
what?
in creating new music. However, in that short time, Seo Taiji changed the way Korean music and
4
the bigger
years?
picture Korean society operates and thinks. His music distributed the idea of individualism to the mass public and marks a departure from the heavily collectivist mindset that Koreans used to have. Korean music went from being uniform and harmonious to wild expressions of individualism and uniqueness. On top of that, he created a platform of free speech by being the catalyst in abolishing pre-censorship in Korean music. He's the very reason why we can have some of the socially aware K-pop songs we now have today. And these all add up and make Seo Taiji the most influential K-pop artist in history.
It is very, very different.
Once again, if you like this content, please subscribe to DKDK TV, and moreover, if you want to support us in making more great videos, please do check out our Patreon at patreon.com/DKDKTV, where we do exclusive content such as podcasts and also reactions. And thank you, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
I will definitely be leaving a link to the original video in the comments down below. Thank you to DKTV for this very informative video about Seo Taiji. I had no idea who he was, and now I know he was definitely one of the most influential artists in K-pop history. So yeah, that's very very good to know. I actually do want to check out some of his music now. He performed with BTS too. So, I wonder. I might have to check that one out. They said his song "Come Back Home" made like runaway teens come back to their home. That's something. That's something. That like you have to have like a really strong following to like have something like that happen. That's really great. So he was definitely a pioneer. So like that's good. That's really good to know. So. Is he like on a Mount Rushmore? Is he one of the kings of K-pop? Hold on. Oh, he might be. I might have to check out some of their music. But yeah. If you guys enjoy my reaction, go ahead and switch your music. That subscribe button. I will drop that like button. Leave a comment. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out. Peace.